direction, but it will still penetrate. On the other hand, if the light is thrown at a low enough angle, essentially parallel to the surface of the ground, as this visual shows, then what happens is that the light skips, just like a rock. But the only light that skips is the light that has its plane of vibration roughly parallel to the surface off of which it is reflecting. That light bouncing with its particular plane has a name. It's called polarized light. And it is always parallel to the surface off of which it reflects. You understand how your sunglasses work? See, your sunglasses have a crystal that the lens is made of that is one direction. And in the case of your sunglasses, it's vertical. Reflected light is horizontal. So if the sunglass is vertical and the light is horizontal, the light can't get through. And so your Polaroid sunglasses block the glare. That's how your Polaroids work. Do you know that turtles wear Polaroids? Well, actually, it's the cornea of the eye that has material that is made of a crystalline nature, and in the turtle, the angle is parallel to the ground. Now think about that. If the lens of the eye, or if the cornea of the eye is parallel to the ground and the turtle is scanning the horizon, and there is light reflecting from a body of water, what's the turtle going to see? Well, the light that is reflected is going to be able to get through the cornea of the eye more easily, and the turtle is going to see it brighter than light that is in other planes. And so what that means is that as the turtle looks at the horizon where the nearest body of water is, it's going to see the shaft of light coming up more brightly than the area around it. And all the turtle has to do is to head for the light. Now, once again, the question has to be, is this some kind of an accident? Is this a chance process? Or is it a designed process? And I understand that people can construct models to explain on an evolutionary basis how that type of characteristic might have developed. It is interesting that other living things, like for instance many waterfowl, have Polaroids that are this way in their eye. And what that means is that they are able to essentially to see through the clouds, because the reflected light off the top of the clouds is going to be horizontal, and they can therefore tell where the sun is, even on a cloudy day, which is a tremendous help in migration. Let me show you one more example of design in the creation. When you look at me, you're looking at what is called a placental mammal. On the screen right now, you're looking at a marsupial mammal, a kangaroo. Now, some of you are saying to yourself, well, I don't see much difference in those two. Well, we got the same shape, don't we? Anyway, the point is not the way we look. The point is, how do we come into existence? You see, when I came into this world, I had been developing for 9.5 months inside my mother. And I came into this world with all my equipment. I had my fingers, I had my toes, I had my nose, I had my eyes, I had my ears. I even had hair at that time. I was totally and completely equipped. Now, when this kangaroo came into the world, it didn't come in looking like this. As a matter of fact, when you see the cute little pictures of the Joey in the pouch, that's not a baby kangaroo. That's a teenager. As a matter of fact, it's interesting when you're around kangaroos that you learn that sometimes there's a little battle that goes on between mama and teenager kangaroo. Because the teenager wants to stay in the house and get a free meal. And the mother wants to move him out. Sound familiar? And so what you'll see sometimes is a mother hopping across with a baby wanting to get in the pouch to get a free meal. And he'll try to dive in the pouch, and if he does get into the pouch, the mother just says, that's it, and she lays down. And she'll stay there until the baby gets out. Kind of hard sometimes to get the youngsters to move out, and that's what's happening in this sequence of pictures. But I want to emphasize that these are not babies. These are teenagers. And pictures like this that show these young kangaroos are looking at adolescent kangaroos, not at baby kangaroos. Here's what a baby kangaroo looks like. That's a teaspoon. A baby kangaroo is about 1/3 or 1/4 up to 1/2 inch long. And it is brought into this world some 4 or 5 weeks after conception. You know what it has to do in that condition? It has to crawl over 25 times its body length, vertically up the stomach of a mother who is hopping around all over the place and doesn't even know he's there. He has to open the pouch. He has to crawl down inside the pouch. He has to hunt around until he finds a nipple where he hooks on and draws his nourishment for the next 6 or 7 months. Now, the mother doesn't help him. And it's kind of interesting as you look at this to realize that this is a survival issue. He has to do this all on his own. But you know what? If he doesn't make it into the pouch, if he falls off, he has a baby brother or a baby sister already conceived inside the mother, already developing, that will be born within 4 to 5 weeks if he doesn't make it into the pouch. If he does make it into the pouch and starts drawing milk from the mother, baby brother or sister will go into a state of suspended animation and will develop no further until the first baby's out of the pouch. Now, if that first baby goes 3 days and dies of a congenital deformity, at that point, baby brother or sister will resume their development. If he goes 3 weeks and dies of a disease, at that point, the second baby will resume its development. If he goes 3 months, falls out of the pouch, and gets stepped on, at that point, baby brother or sister will resume their development. If he goes 8 months and leaves on his own steam, at that point, baby brother or sister will resume their development. There is always a baby waiting in the wings. The female kangaroo is perpetually pregnant. And ladies, if that doesn't give you a nightmare, nothing will. You engineers thought that you thought up the first backup system. Here's a backup system that defies anything man's ever done. And the engineers would be the first ones to tell you that a backup system is more difficult to engineer than a primary system. But I'm still not done. There's 2 nipples inside the mother. The first nipple, the one that we have shown you already in this process, is a very small nipple. And it is low-fat milk. The second nipple is a much larger nipple. And it contains high-fat milk. 28% higher in fat content than the small nipple. When the baby comes into the pouch, he has to get the right nipple because his body cannot metabolize the high-fat content of the large nipple. No problem. The high-fat milk nipple is so large he can't get it in his mouth. He always gets the right nipple. But then how do you make him switch? There are muscles running from the bottom of the pouch to the top of the small nipple. When the baby gets big enough that his weight pushes down on the bottom of the pouch, that pulls up on the small nipple. So eventually, when the mother kangaroo takes a king-size hop, that pulls the small nipple up out of the reach of the baby, and the only nipple the baby can get is a high-fat milk nipple, the large nipple, which better meets his needs. Now the question is, are we really willing to attribute this kind of incredible complexity to the result of a long series of singularly beneficial accidents? Or are we going to recognize that there is design and there is purpose in the creation around us? Now you can go in your backyard, many of you, and see the possum, which is a very similar type of animal and lives in very much the same way. But in all these cases, this behavior can't be learned. It can't be something that is just a product of chance. I submit to you, it is an example of design. And this statement that says we are a product of blind forces is a statement that I believe is contradicted by the evidence. And science writers have repeatedly said things like this statement of Frederick Hoyle's, that we cannot just on the basis of blind mechanistic chance explain the complexities of the world that we see around us. In our next several videos, we want to show you some more examples of this type of design. And I would suggest to you that the Bible recognizes this principle. And we hope that you'll investigate and look more deeply into the evidence that there is design in the creation that demands a designer, that we are not the product of chance.
Does God Exist is an educational program which attempts to provide evidence that man can logically believe in God and that the Christian system presented in the New Testament is the best option for successful living. We offer materials free and on loan. Contact us by mail, fax, or email for a catalog, to request materials, or just to ask questions. Does God exist may be the most important question you will ever ask.